The Transportation Committee for Tuesday, February 15th is now in session. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Representatives Boyd, Campbell, Grills, Halford, Hicks, Hurt, Kiesling, Marsh, McKenzie, Potts, Powers, Rudd, Russell, Thompson, Todd, Towns, Vital, Weaver, Whitson, Vice Chairman Hall,
Here.
Chairman Howe.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Members, do we have any personal orders? Any announcements? I hear crickets, so apparently we do not. It is a quiet bunch. Well, it's early. Not everyone's had their coffee yet. So, with that said, we have a very short calendar, and it happens to be my bill, so I'm going to hand the gavel over to Vice Chairman Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First on the agenda is House Bill 1651 by Chairman Howe. Chairman Howe, you are recognized. Is there a motion and a second? Is there a motion on the bill? Is there a second? Mr. Chairman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have an amendment.
Which,
It is,
is there a motion and a second on the amendment? Mr. Chairman, which amendment are we addressing
it
today?
would be number 2. We will adopt number 2, or 013580 is the number I have.
Mr. Chairman, you are recognized.
Do we have a motion?
All right, is there a motion?
This amendment simply changes a definition. It changes references to off-premise signs and off-site signs and replaced with the term outdoor advertising device. That's what the amendment is,
Any questions on the bill,
on the amendment.
on the amendment? Seeing none, without objection, we'll be voting on the bill as amended. Oh, without objection, we'll be voting on the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Amendment carries. Now we're back on the bill. Any questions on the bill? Yes, sir. McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And question to the sponsor. In terms of this, it looks to, I guess, this would supersede or override a local municipality as it relates to the illumination, how bright these signs can be, and where these electronic billboards can be. Is that correct?
The local zoning ordinances from the municipalities and cities, and not all cities are involved in this. If it's a home rule city, then they're not involved in this bill. But the billboards, let me just start from the beginning and explain what the bill does. It tweaks our billboard law. As you recall, we passed the billboard law back in 2020 when the federal court, 6th District, ruled that our billboard laws were unconstitutional. And this bill tweaks that law to allow billboards that were originally permitted before the zoning change to continue to operate. This does not impact the zoning laws such as setbacks, heights, illuminations. For example, the state law that we passed in 2020 has a lower illumination limit than the city of Nashville. So it doesn't do any harm to the local municipalities. What it does do is protect those businesses that have invested sometimes tens of thousands of dollars into a business, and a billboard is a business in a locale, and then the zoning has changed, and it says that they will continue to operate as non-conforming. Non-conforming means the zoning has changed and they do not conform to the current zoning, but their business is protected, their investment is protected, and they will be able to continue to operate. It does not tell the municipality that you have to add additional billboards. This only deals with existing billboards.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and that definitely clears up a whole lot. My last question is what you said that there at the end. Is that for the duration of the contract? Because as you said, that this business, advertising business, has a contract with that location property owner, and they have X number of illumination and this many changes a minute or an hour in terms of the billboard. Does that last in perpetuity, or does that last until the contract is up? And then when the next contract come up, that municipality can make some changes?
Chairman Howell.
This bill does not address any contract between a billboard company and a landowner who might lease the land where the billboard is located. If the landowner decides not to renew that contract, then that billboard would expire because it's no longer under contract with the leaseholder, with the landowner.
Representative Weaver.
Thank you, Chairman. I do have a question to the sponsor. How does this affect any new businesses going forward should this legislation pass?
Chairman Howell.
It does not address new billboards. That right still is reserved for the cities and municipalities. If they want to zone and permit new billboards, they can. This only addresses existing billboards, the ones that are now in place, and protects them in their investment going forward.
Chairman Weaver.
Thank you, Chairman. I know that we had spent so much time, you, Chairman, has spent so much time on billboards, and they're kind of like a bittersweet thing, personally. I mean, they're great. They offer a lot of advertisement, of course, and it is a business, but some of them can be egregious because they're really, really bright and they're annoying at some times. So you have both worlds. So I just want to make sure we don't hurt any new going forward. And we're basically just grandfathering in those that are already there, correct? This will not affect them, right?
Chairman Howell.
You're exactly right. I couldn't have said it better. They're grandfathered in.
Well, I like grandfathers. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Then thank you very much.
Representative Weaver, thank you. Representative Todd, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a concern, well, a couple of concerns. One, the amendment's not on dashboard. I even went back out and signed back in and I don't find it. So whatever it's worth, you explained the amendment. And so I'm still trying to digest where that factors into the bill, what changes it makes. I do think there's a concern that this may affect some of the small business owners that don't, they're not the big conglomerates that own a lot of billboards. It may give those larger ones an advantage there that the smaller ones maybe don't have by going digital. If that's, this kind of seems what the wording is doing here. It's allowing them to upgrade these signs, tear them down, put up a new electronic one, that kind of thing. And so I think there's some private small business owners that are concerned about this. I'd love to see their voices heard on this and make sure everybody's, clear on what this does. And I'm just concerned about the speed here, but I just submit that for consideration.
Chairman Howell.
Thank you. I'm not, I would respectfully disagree. I don't see how this does any damage to any, whether they're small or large. If they have a business, they have a business and they have the opportunity to upgrade, to invest capital. If they want to do that, they can. And they, they can upgrade to the latest technologies. There was a time when you used to drive down the road and you saw Sea Rock City painted on a barn. And the technology's changed. They now have it on birdhouses. There was a time when technology was, we put it on a telephone pole. Then they went to metal poles, and then they went to lighting above the board, lighting below the board. They went from incandescent light to LED light. The technology changed. And so it's that way with any business. This just grandfathers in those existing billboards, whether they're large or small, the opportunity to protect their investment, and that's all it does. And allow them to upgrade the technology if they need to.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative Halford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the event of some kind of natural disaster, a tornado or something like that, and one that's grandfathered in, if it gets torn down, are they allowed to put it back up?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just happened to see someone from the outdoor advertising companies here, and I didn't know if they had to have their name already on the list or anything before they could speak to it. I know Chairman Todd mentioned it a minute ago about hearing from a small business owner. So I don't know, is that something that we could go out of session and hear from them, or do they need to have their name already on the list prior to it?
At this time, we'll go out of session. Okay. Representative Powers, it's my understanding that there must be a 24-hour notice
Oh, okay.
to address the committee. Is there anyone that wants to address the committee that's on the list? Mhm. Ms. Holly, if you'd state your name for the record, please.
Holly Kirby with the Outdoor Advertising Association, Johnson Post Kirby Government Relations. And these two fellows were also on the list. I'll let them introduce their names as well.
My name is Russell Burdett. I'm with Outfront Media here in Nashville. It was on.
Oh, okay.
I think they heard
Go
me.
ahead.
I'm William Rush. I'm Government Affairs Officer, Central Region, Lamar Advertising.
Do you want us to answer questions or?
Yes, ma'am.
I think just to go to the question, Chairman Howell answered the question correctly about large companies versus smaller companies. Our association is made up of both. And this bill is only going to impact a sign that was legally permitted at one point. The city came through and zoned to make it illegal for billboards at that point. It protects that investment of that billboard owner that built during a legal period of time, regardless of the size of the company that they own. It has no knowledge of the size of the company. The law on the books today protects those, allows them to be rebuilt, allows them to be upgraded. The clarifying point to Chairman Howell's bill is that it is clarifying that it also allows them to upgrade to the latest technologies with lighting and technology. That is what the bill does, in addition to updating the language that we passed 2 years ago with the Billboard Act. So he's been correct with everything that he said. This bill has no knowledge of whether it's a small company or a large company. Like I said, our association is made up of both. Anything you all need to share to clear that up?
I think Holly's right. My company's been around 120 years. We do have several assets, but I don't see it giving us an unfair advantage over any of the other fellow operators we have in the state. Most of the smaller guys, a lot of their signs are conforming because they've had to meet the newer regulations as the cities have come along. Industries or the folks in the industry like my company have been around 120 years. The laws have changed from the municipalities in all that time. The genesis of the statute you guys are looking at, it goes all the way back to the 1935 General Assembly, and protections have come through for every business and industry in this state, not just us. So a company like me, I don't see an unfair advantage for us. It just gives us the ability to deploy this new technology to display the message contents. And it's not every location, guys. Not everything in every city is eligible for this. There's a lot of signs sitting inside cities that are conforming. So it's to me, it's not an unfair advantage.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one quick question. What about some of the signs that are non-conforming? I mean, I know that I live in a rural area, so there's some been put up for a long time that really, they look non-conforming. I don't know exactly what the specifications are, but
Right.
how does it affect them at all? I mean, are they going to go back and relook at them and try to either bring them up to date or get them? Okay.
Well, so those are the exact signs that we're talking about with this bill. And it is the company's prerogative to upgrade their signs. And these companies that are part of our association do their best to try. I think it would depend on who the owner of that particular sign location is. But that is the purpose of this bill, is to make sure that these companies have all the tools that they need to have available to them to invest the way that they need to keep those signs as up to date as they can. Go ahead.
Representative Powers.
Thank you.
Representative
Wait
Todd.
just a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask, as far as the association goes,
Mhm.
what kind of outreach have you done with your association members on this particular piece of legislation to get their input, small and large?
We've had meetings with the board, which is our typical method of working through the legislation. I've had regular outreach with them each week as we've moved this bill through, asking for them to reach out to you all to let us know. And every time I send that email, I'll let them know to reach out to me and let me know if they have an issue. So those emails are sent asking them to reach out to their legislators in the areas that they. Yes, sir. That's been going on since the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Representative Todd.
Thank you, Chairman. I just, I've only heard from a number of small operators, I would
Mhm.
say, and just have some concerns.
I
Maybe
understand.
don't understand it, or, and especially with the amendment, exactly what is it doing? And I know it wasn't, it's changing a little bit of wording, but just wanting time, I guess, to digest that and see what the impact's going to be on their, on the ones that can't, let's say, upgrade to a digital billboard with all the illumination and everything. Then they may feel like they're in a disadvantage over the larger companies that can do that. So I think that's their concern, it seems like. And, I get that. I don't know that, I don't know exactly how that should affect this legislation, but it's certainly a concern that they would have. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Holly, for being here. The grandfathering in, whenever that was there an agreement reached whenever that grandfathering in was taking place?
So it's my understanding that that can happen at any number of times. It's just dependent on when the city makes the decision through their ordinance, correct, to make those signs, to not allow billboards anymore, or any business that this law would impact. We're talking about billboards because those are a lot of the sections that we're dealing with, and that's what we do. But it's at the point, the non-conforming status happens when the city decides to pass the ordinance that makes billboards going forward not allowed. So it puts those billboards that are in existence at that period of time, or any business in this zone where they've outlawed a certain business, it puts them in that non-conforming status.
Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And one other question. I'm not sure, I haven't got a chance to read this amendment that Mr. Todd's got here, or Representative Todd's got here, but they're going to be grandfathered, these billboards that are grandfathered in, can they also be upscaled maybe to a larger size because they're already on that spot?
So the current law today allows that currently. This bill does not change that. That's been on the books. I can't tell you how long it's been on the books, but it's been in statute for quite a while, because we haven't touched the statute in many, many years. So that's already allowed, and it's allowed to go one size up from the current, whatever it was currently. It can be upgraded one size, and that's actually prescribed in the statute that this section opens up. And I'll also just reference the new amendment it's very, with the exception of a couple of words that we deleted, hoping that the cities that we've been talking to would feel better about the bill. We realized that they are not supportive of the bill and wouldn't be, but we did make some efforts. So that's actually what the amendment does is take some of that language that we knew they were concerned about. Again, I don't want anyone to mishear me. They still are opposed to the bill, but we were trying to make some effort, and so that's what the amendment, and it was rewritten instead of just taking those words out because you all had added amendment in subcommittee. So it was just rewritten to be one complete amendment rather than two.
Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you feel like that some of these individuals or these cities really have their problem is the upscaling and the upgrading? Is that what the issue is? Not necessarily the sign existing, but just because they may be larger than what they were originally and they may have the upgrades? Is that the issue, or is it just?
From my understanding, and I don't want to speak for the cities, but our conversations, it's about their local control. So that's the
Which is normal.
concern.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions for our guest? Seeing none, Ms. Holly, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're now going back into session. Any other questions for the sponsor of the bill? Chairman Wilson. Whitson.
Yeah. I know I'm out of order, but I just want to recognize a former colleague in the back room there, Representative Martin Daniels. Welcome back, Martin. Good seeing you.
Representative Keesling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. 6:52 this morning, received a text. It's in Mr. Chairman Howell. It was relative to the comments that Chairman Todd has already expressed to you, and I think possibly a request to consider. And with all respect, he has respect, and so do I. But we do have. I began receiving this text from a media owner up in the Upper Cumberland area that has asked for a roll of a week or two. But again, I respect your decision, but I just wanted to be on record to say that and let him know. I don't even know if he's viewing. I sent him a text several minutes ago. Are you viewing? And he said, I still haven't received the text. But anyway, that's where I am. I just as through the questioning, Chairman Howell, with Representative Todd, there's been, I think there's just not complete understanding here by the gentleman who's reached out to us. But anyway, with that, I do have the utmost respect for you, and that's where I'll leave it. But again, I just wanted to be on record. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman Keesling, to your point, I did roll this bill. I met with TML, and at their request, I rolled it, asked them to bring language to me. They emailed me about a week later and said they had no language, and we were just philosophically opposed. And so it has been rolled, so I'm not sure that we could gain anything by rolling it again.
I wasn't,
and
okay, thank you
beating
very
a
much.
dead horse.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So with the committee's, I'm at the will of the committee, but if the committee is in favor, I would just move forward with the bill because it has been rolled in order to have communications with the industry.
Chairman Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move previous question.
Previous questions being called. Without objections, we'll be voting on the bill as amended. All of those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Bill passes. Moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. Members, thank you for that. I always enjoy a good debate, and that helps clear the air and creates good understanding, and I appreciate the questions that were put forth and with an opportunity to answer those questions. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
We are adjourned.